Welcome back to episode 2 of my Star Ruler Let's Play. Okay, I forgot to mention last time that you can customize your races, which is very interesting. So, I'm going to go here, and you can hit Customize Race. Now what you can do is you can choose your portrait. So far there's only a limited amount. And I forgot to mention that the game is still in development, and things can change. I do know that the game has changed a lot in the past several months for the better, so keep that in mind. You can choose your ship set. I'm sure there'll be more, and people will also be able to mod that. You can choose your weapon skin. I don't really know what this does. I'm assuming that's just what the weapons look like when they fire, the color. You can choose your government empire, and you can choose your type of space travel eventually. So let's start off with Foundation, and the way this works is a point system. So right now there's nothing selected in the Foundation category. In the FTL category, we have Hyperdrive, and you can start with any one of these. So, for example, if we choose Sublight, which means no space travel at all, you get +3 points, which you can then spend anywhere else. So, if you wanted to have no space drive, or if you wanted to have no way of traveling through the stars at a fast speed, you can gain extra grain on your homeworld. And you can see how my points became less because this costs 1 point. Red is 1 point, and green is you gain an extra point. So you can offset the penalty of not being able to travel to space through space fast with other bonuses. You can choose your personality also. So there's a lot of ways that you can customize your race if that's something that seems interesting to you. You can choose your government, and you can also choose military bonuses. I have not read these before. So it looks like you can start off with an ancient vessel. Manifest Destiny uses 25% less supply when performing a siege. That's useful. Military Industrial Complex. You start with 50 labor in free support ships. Okay. Or Pyromania. Missile-based weapons deal 25% more damage. Very useful. So that's the way you customize your race, with a point system. Okay, we're just going to accept that, go back, and load into the game that we had, our Let's Play game. Okay, so we're in, and I'm going to pause again real fast. So, I was going to talk about the homeworld, Noah Lim 1. Okay, so Noah Lim 1, it has meat and a water source. And it also has a building maintenance of minus 100,000 K because of meat. It has a population of 3. Its pressure is 0 of 3. I'll speak to pressure in a minute. And its loyalty is 1. Loyalty is useful when you're trying to siege other planets. If you can somehow lower the loyalty of an AI's planet, then it'll be easier to siege and take over. Its income is negative 95,000. That'll change very fast. Its labor is 4, and we do not have a wonder yet. You only get 1 wonder per planet when it gets to level 4, which is, I found it was very hard to do, but the AI can do it very easily. So I wouldn't be surprised if they get a wonder, which are very powerful. And for level 2, in order to level up my planet, we need any food resource in addition to meat, and we need any tier 1 resource. And we'll get to that in a minute. So right here is the planet, and it has a factory and a city, and you can see that it's under construction. So the AI will simply build cities for you, and these don't do much except hold the population. So if we wanted to build, what is this, a factory? If we wanted to build, let's say, another factory, it'll cost 200,000 and it'll have an upkeep of 350,000. It'll take 3 minutes to build, and it generates 3 labor per minute. So you click on it and you can build it anywhere on here. Obviously not on top of another factory, but you can build it on top of a city and it'll just replace that. The city will be built around it instead. So those are buildings. The game really isn't about building buildings in your city. It's about leveling up your planets and either playing a very offensive game with your ships or playing a defensive game and trying to win through diplomacy. You can also build orbitals. We'll get into these. The supply depot is very useful because it gives your fleets supply, which will allow them to fire their weapons and capture planets. You can build defense platforms as well, trade outposts, commerce stations, shipyard, and FTL jammers. And you can build ships. For now, I'm going to queue up 2 scout ships. So single left click and 2 scout ships. And they cost 40,000 and their upkeep's 40,000. They require 4.8 labor, and it'll take 1 minute and 12 seconds to purchase. Okay, so once you're finished with that, you can just click outside of the window and it'll bring you back to this screen. I still have it paused. So if I look at my home system, I can see I have a tier 1 resource, textiles, which will give me, it'll give me money, and it has a pressure of 3, meaning that when I export textiles to a planet, or if I decide to level up this planet, the textiles will pressure the civilians to build, I think, banks. So another resource could be, for example, a defensive structures, or so it'll produce ships and it'll pressure the civilian to produce barracks, for example. So you'll see that eventually when we start exporting and importing resources. So I have a level 1 resource, you have a food source, and a water source. Now usually the game, your first home system always has some combination of food, water, and a tier 1 resource. We also have an asteroid which you can mine, and that'll give us FTL shards and morphic materials, which adds 2 pressure to the consuming planets of native resources. So you do actually want a lot of pressure so that the planet will grow and build buildings. But if you go over, if you have too much pressure, that's bad, because that will mean the resources are produced at a lowered capacity. Okay. We also have a debris field, which we will scan with our scout ships. And we have another asteroid, which gives economic materials. So it increases building construction speed by 100%, and it increases the maximum population by 2. That's very good. Very good. Okay, so I think we're almost finished. I can unpause. Before I do that, we saw that this planet needs a food resource and a tier 1 resource. So we want to colonize this tier 1 resource, and all you do is you can select it, you right click on it, and you hit colonize this. And it'll have a little arrow there. And we also want to colonize food, water. Let me go ahead and enable some of these pop-ups I like to have on the side here. So these are just little pop-ups that show you. So for example, this first one shows us the cards that are currently being able to be bought. So instead of having to go to the diplomacy tab, I can quickly look here. This tab is partially colonized, and that'll go away after we colonize stuff. This tab is sufficient population to colonize, so it'll let you know which planets you have enough population to colonize. Usually you need 1. So this planet has 3 out of 3, and you need 1. I'm assuming that stands for billion or million, billion of people. Then you have your planets with labor, which is very important. It's handy to know what planets have labor so you can build your defenses around. Okay, so I'm going to unpause by hitting the spacebar. I changed it to spacebar. I believe it's F6 as default. So right now you can see that my homeworld is seeding the planet, the tier 1 resource planet. I'm also going to right click on the asteroid and hit do I want FTL shards mining base or morphic material mining base? So probably in the beginning it is very nice to have a lot of FTL, so I'm going to build. You have to select the planet, and then you have to select whatever planet you want that has labor in order to build on an asteroid field. So I'm going to build FTL shards mining base, and you'll see that's queued up to build right there. I'm also going to build economic materials base. Okay. So a scout has finished, and you can see it right there. Very small ship. I have it selected. You can see its health. You can see its supply, its strength, and if there's any other fleets you can see here. Now let's go over this real quick. So you can have different stances. You can have it engage enemies. You can have it close in on enemies. You can have it support closest range. You can have it use hyperdrive, auto explore, which I don't like, or you can auto explore with FTL. If you just click auto explore, it'll do its own thing without using up FTL energy. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to take my scout, unpause it, take my scout. I'm going to hit F. Oh, actually first I'm going to scan anomaly. Okay, so the scout ship is going to make its way over there. Okay, so it's driving over to the anomaly, and it'll just scan it itself. Okay, so you can see the clock's ticking down for money, and I haven't spent 470,000, so it'll be spent towards influence, which is good. Okay, let's talk about this real fast. I have colonized the planet, Noalim 4, and if I bring it up, you'll see I can build stuff on here. I only can build buildings. I can't build orbitals or ships because I don't have any labor. But the planet right now is generating negative 80k income, and that'll change when it levels up. And in order for it to level up, it needs water and food. Okay, so we just happen to have water and food. So what we'll do is when these planets are colonized, we'll be able to export water to this planet, export food to this planet, and then we'll be able to export the textiles back to our home planet. So the whole game is basically that. It focuses on managing the supply chain of your planets. And as you can probably tell, it's very hard to do against AI, who can micromanage that very well. So let's explore the back half of let's just explore our little circle of the dumbbell. So I select my scout, and I can right click to go to another star system, or I can hit F for FTL, and you can see I can move anywhere. It'll cost 45 FTL, so it already reduced that out of my FTL, and it'll charge up slowly. Let's see, very nice graphic. It's charging up its FTL drive, and then eventually it'll fire off into space. Okay, so I'm going to pause it real fast. I usually don't pause this much, but since I'm talking and trying to explain everything, I'll be pausing quite a bit, at least at the beginning. Okay, so down here, a scout's been built. Right click to dismiss it, and we have an anomaly. I'll talk about that in a minute. So our scout has arrived, and we get to see what's here. We have 2 water, 2 food. Very nice system for a support system. We also have some remnant forces here, which are decently powerful. In the beginning, they're very powerful. So they have a flagship, 21 gunships, 3 missile boats, 5 beam ships, and 10 gunships. I'm not sure what those numbers in parentheses are. If anyone knows, please leave a comment below. So you can see they have 42,000 supply, and this regenerates over time. Your health also regenerates over time. And a strength is just a good way to quickly see if your fleet is stronger than another fleet. You can zoom all the way in and see them. Looks very nice. Fleets do stay together, which makes managing them very easily. This is definitely a macro game. There's not a lot of micromanagement besides the planets, which I guess it then makes it a micro game, but the planets are the only things you really have to micro, and then you don't even have to, because I'll show you what I mean in a minute. So if you're wondering what this is, my scout ship who came into, when it entered into this space, it fired some of its weapons. So it might hit, but they're far enough away that they won't fight each other. Okay, let's look at the anomaly. If you left click, you come up with a message, and this says you encounter a strange station periodically emitting Tycon pulses at a nearby spatial anomaly. Okay, the station's power system appears to be functional, but the emitter's focusing mechanism is damaged. If we repair the emitter, we may be able to widen spatial anomaly enough to pass through it. So this sounds like it'll be a warp gate, and you have options. You can open it, or you can destroy it. Now, this is my home system, and while it would be very useful to have this gate and the ability to travel somewhere very fast, I like to play a defensive game. So I'm going to destroy the anomaly. So I left click, and because it's paused, nothing has happened yet. Okay, I'm going to unpause, and it's destroyed. So I'll send my next scout ship. I'm going to queue up. If you FTL, hold down shift while you're clicking. So this whole trip is going to cost, I don't know, I did not add that up in my head, but we'll see if he can make it. This ship, I'm also going to queue up FTL. I kind of ruined the... I'm going to be wasting some FTL, but that's okay. Okay. So, before I look at this other system... Oh, it's also very nice. You can, if you zoom all the way out, it kind of puts the planets evenly spaced. But that's not how they are arranged in the system. So if you look at my home system, you see that they're at the 4 corners. However, when I zoom in, that's not how they are at all. They will slowly orbit around the star. So it could change over time. Okay, so I have a food, a water, and a textile planet. And I want to level up this planet. It needs a food resource and a water resource. So I can do it manually by left-clicking the food resource right-clicking the planet and hitting export meat to NoAlim 4. Or I could right-click this and hit auto import, and it'll automatically import food and water for level 1. So once I unpause the game, or actually you can see it right now, it automatically happens. And in order to reach level 1, I need 2 population. And you'll see right now it's 1 out of 1, but when I unpause the game, it'll go up. The maximum will go up. So it's now went up to 3. Okay, I'm going to pause real quick and look at any diplomacy cards to see if there's anything interesting. Profiteering is very simple. You spend 4 influence and you get 250,000. So if you have a lot of influence, you can get money that way. Open Forum. I've never used this. Increases the size of influence card stack by 1. Okay, so I do not know what this means. Increases the size of the influence card stack by 1. So you might use this against someone to increase the influence so that the AI cannot play cards against you. That's interesting. But so far, I'm not going to get into diplomacy yet. Okay, I'm going to unpause it, and you see the population slowly going up. My ships are exploring. And right now, if you took the initiative, wow, this is ridiculous. Look at all those remnant forces. What's even on here? Oh, there's 2 tier 2 resources. It's useful. And it looks like he destroyed the scout. So those remnant forces, I jumped right into there, not knowing. Oh, it's because I don't have enough FTL to even move, so... I do. Why is my guy not moving automatically? Well, looks like I lost those scouts. So you can micromanage the scouts if you want, and you can probably keep them, which is useful. I'm just waiting for this to level up to level 2, and then I'll show you what to do in order to level up your homeworld. Okay, so right now the planet is, pause it, right now the planet is level 1, I'm sorry. And at a level 1 planet, it starts to produce textiles, and you can see that they have a pressure of 2 out of 3. So the city that's built on here will start building, I believe, banks. We'll check back on it in a little bit. But you can now see that it's no longer negative 80, it's now positive 92. And if I wanted to level this up even more, I could import some food, and that's all it would take. But right now, it's producing textiles, and what I can do is I can either do what I told you. You can right click and you can auto import to level 2, but I like to do this manually. I'll select this textile resource and I'll export textiles to my home planet. Okay, so now my home planet has food, water, food, textiles, and it needs another food resource in order to level up. So I can't remember if this had remnant forces in it. I think there was remnant forces here, and it wouldn't be safe to send colony ships over. So I do need to build more scouts, and I need to explore. And I am out of time for today. So what I will do next episode is hit the ground running. I will build scouts. I will start exploring the rest of these stars and leveling up my home planet enough so that I can start building a fleet. eventually, if you find yourself stuck where you can't find any planets to colonize because remnant forces are in the way, it's going to take a while. You're going to have to wait 3 minutes until you get your allotted amount of currency, which for me it's 462,000. You can see the third level down. It says upcoming budget. So thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you next time.